How's it going, everybody? It's your host, the Sports Moose, coming at you live post game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. That's right, Bolts making it, of course, beating the Islanders a couple nights ago while we were in Chicago. Little weekend trip. Wasn't able to hop on the computer, obviously, for a post-game show. But don't you worry, big celebrations had in Chicago and making it back in time for game number 1 here in Austin. Good to see you. Hope you're having a great evening, enjoying the first Lightning victory, back-to-back Stanley Cup appearances. And this was a vintage, I tweeted this out. I feel like this was a vintage Lightning Montreal game that takes place at Amalie Arena. I mean, Carey Price looked very human. The Lightning just broke down Montreal defense, and they went toe-to-toe with some physical stuff. I mean, an incredible number of hits in this game. It started off a little kind of feeling out in the first opening minute or two, but after that, it was pedal to the metal. Both teams trying to assert their dominance, and the Bolts coming out on top. A little bit of dirty stuff from Montreal in third period. I think frustration. Bolts getting 3 goals in the third period to really pull away. Some extra insurance. And really, Montreal had a couple. Montreal's lone goal was a lucky bounce, a double kind of ping pong, pinballing deflection off a couple pair of skates. They had a couple solid looks. I think the Lightning blocking double-digit shots. So again, credit to the Lightning defense for really clogging up those lanes. But really, Montreal, not too much to sniff at. I think a very rare Shea Weber breakaway at some point. But other than that, you didn't feel like Montreal was very close to grabbing the momentum. Even when they made it 2-1, you just didn't feel like the Islanders series where, the Islanders got that one goal. You almost felt that momentum shifting, and we really had to batten down the hatches. I saw that in Game 7 a little bit, where Lightning took that lead, and then Islanders just kind of gave us everything they had. Didn't get that with Montreal. And I'm not sure if that's for any particular reason, other than that they're the 18th best team in the league point-wise. I think a very great overperformance to get here in the playoffs, and I mean this as respectfully as I can. If you're a Montreal Canadian fan out there listening or watching, but they're outmatched. I mean, I think it's clear. And I hope I'm not eating my words a week or two from now where we're talking about a Game 7. But Montreal's got some work to do if they want to compete with the Lightning, at least from what I saw now. And I think it's no surprise, it's no secret that this is how this series is probably going to go. I mean, this is a Bolts in 5 type of series. Maybe Montreal steals one in Montreal. But I fully expect the Bolts to take both games in Tampa. Montreal doesn't seem to play well in Tampa, right? We're obviously not playing in the same division this year. I'd love to see the numbers from the last couple years where we've been in the same division. But I always feel like Montreal finds a way to really play pretty pedestrian hockey in Tampa. And again, it just looked like another Tampa Bay Lightning Montreal Canadiens matchup. Other than the pretty crazy physicality, which we'll talk about in a moment, looked like it's business as usual for the Bolts. And that makes me feel really confident as a fan that we're going to be celebrating a nice cup victory in the next week and a half or so. Hopefully lining up with a trip to Tampa. It's going to be absolutely insane. So excited to get back home for a couple days. And hopefully the cup is won while we're there. It's going to be incredible. So we're excited to hopefully get the chance to celebrate with all you guys out in Tampa. All right, like we always do, let's talk stats. and see what exactly went into the game. Switching camera views over, of course. Apparently for game 6, I must have had the wrong screen up because it was just showing like the Thunderdome Puckcast logo while I talked over it. Shame. Had some great stats for game 6. Even had the game watch if you're following us, third period and overtime as well. But it's for the post game show. I just didn't switch over to the right camera view. Oh well. We got it here for game number 1 though, and these are the big stats. Here's the big one right here. I couldn't believe this as you kind of watching the first minutes of post-game coverage on NBC. They mentioned 115 hits total, and that is exactly right. 58 to 57 on the hits. And actually, Montreal had a pretty significant lead in this, getting into the first intermission. So it was nice to see the Lightning kind of push back, and you saw it. I mean, really, Montreal, Corey Perry and some of their backliners and third and fourth liners, really that's their game. Have to try and take us off our game of being dominant in puck possession. It just didn't work. Didn't really draw the Lightning into bad penalties. I think there was one early on in the second period. Was that Yanni? I think Yanni getting a little overly physical. Then again, Montreal followed that up with a bad penalty with the cross check. I believe that was to Kucherov's back. I forget. They might have actually been gored again. Just someone got cross checked in the back of the neck. Finally called that in the second period. Another big stat here: 15 blocked shots for the Lightning to the Canadiens 5, and really not too high in terms of volume of shots for the Montreal. I think the Lightning once again really clogging up those lanes, putting pressure on them as well. I think that's a really underrated part of their game, is that they're putting pressure in the defensive zone when they're on defense, and that's forcing the Canadiens to shoot quickly, one and done. And we'll see the heat map in a moment kind of backing that up, as well as causing some turnovers too. Really only 3 giveaways for the Canadiens. Again, I didn't really see anything alarming in terms of the Canadiens are turning the puck over. I actually think they played a decent possession game, which is like they couldn't get enough of it. And we'll see some of differences in the Corsi and Fenwick numbers when we talk sabermetrics in hockey in a moment. Of course, with our friends with Natural Stat Trick. Feel free to shoot us messages in the chat, of course. If you're following along on my personal Facebook page, for whatever reason, chat messages don't come across, make sure to jump over to the Sports Moose on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch to be able to interact on chat. I think we got all the socials up. I'll bring them back up later. And then, of course, at Twitter, at Sports Moose Show, or our Twitter feed. We're pretty active tonight, interacting with Lightning here, Bolts Nation. 1 for 3 on the power play for the Bolts, of course. 0 for 2 for the Canadiens. Always good to see those face-off numbers as even as possible, because whenever we're at like 60-40, 55-45, really when we start having problems. So important that we get those possession numbers in our favor, and that starts with a healthy dose of winning the face-off. I'm happy when we're even, especially with the team that we know that's weaker, to be able to take this and control the game. Shots on goal, 27-19 favor of Canadiens. Kind of, I think, third period really limited on shots to a certain point, and then both starting to score goals. I think it was like 1-1 for third period shots about halfway through, and until we started scoring. Going through the scoring, of course, huge goal. Nice little deflection by Chernak there in the first period, coming off Palanstick. The point getting another point, inching closer to Cooch. I think Cooch still has a pretty sizable lead in the point department. But Chernak opening up the scoring. I think first ever playoff goal for Cherney. Yanni with the second period goal. I'm trying to remember that one. Of course, that was all. No, that was the line there. Yanni Gord. We talked about kind of the weird, like pinballing goal. And this was this pretty much prevented a runaway. But the Ben Chariot goal, kind of bouncing off two Lightning skates, just pinballing and past Vasilevsky. Kind of a shame that the home shutout streak ends in that fashion, but it is what it is. Sometimes you're gonna. I'll take that little bout of puck luck there, and then have us score 5 goals to back that up. No big deal. Cooch, of course, 2 goals, one of which coming was initially credited to Palat. I actually thought it was a nice little sauce pass from Kucherov and Palat batting it in. Seems like he actually missed the puck. So Kucherov off a Habs defenseman and in. They got a second with 2. A nice kind of the usual feed from point, kind of going opposite direction, opposite of flow. They had Carey Price kind of going the other way and reaching back and glove, try to make the save. Vintage play. I mean, that's a nice setup from Point. Point knows what he's doing in terms of dishes. 2 assists for Point tonight. Nice to see. And Cooch with a 4-point night for Cooch. 2 goals, 2 assists. No, 3-point night for Cooch. 2 goals, 1 assist. Got an assist on the Stammer goal in the power play. Close it out 5-1 towards the end of the game. From the office, good old Stamkos. Kucherov was 23rd assist. 23rd assist. I think you might see I think we got the stats updated down below. Oh, over here. Down below. Through the Islander series. So we'll get those updated to reflect the first game of the Cup Finals. Really nothing notable in terms of ice time for the Bolts. Top down here. All forwards in double digits is nice. Maroon getting 12 minutes. Johnson kind of on the short end of the stick. No one into the 20 minutes. Kucherov looks like Point with the most ice time. No surprise there. Then able to spread some of the minutes on the third on the defensive pairings, which is always nice, right? Kind of an easier game. Able to spread this out nice. McDonough, of course, eating up minutes, and Hedman with Ruda. Ruda only 14 minutes. That's interesting. With him and Hedman being paired up. So I wonder what the changes look like there. I might need to pay a little bit more attention to that as we go along. And of course, hopping over to our stats with our friends at Natural Stat Trick. I always love stats, are always fascinating to me. This I found really interesting, and if Corsi and Fenwick are a way to measure kind of quality of play and possession. This was actually what I would consider a pretty statistical, significant difference between the two measures, right? In one measure, you got the Lightning being in the favor of the Lightning, I guess you could say. Well, where Corsi shows a little bit more, swing over to the quality of play of the Canadians. And not necessarily quality of play like the Canadians should have won the game, but apparently Corsi, I didn't know this, incorporates a few extra measures, one of which is blocked shots. So that might be what swayed some of the numbers to be higher for the Canadians when you're looking at Corsi, because remember the Lightning blocked 15 shots to the Canadians 5. So a little bit of extra shot volume for the Canadians. So in terms of shot attempts, they had, I think, 19 on goal on the 15, so 34 to 31 with the Lightning's 5 additional shot attempts that were blocked. So Canadians actually, in terms of shot attempts, that disregarding blocks, actually ahead there. So that's where you get a little bit of a statistical anomaly where it shows like the Canadians had a better Corsi score. That was interesting. Scoring chances were pretty even. That's surprising to me, especially, my impression was well, I guess that's where it goes down to the high danger scoring chances, is where I'm actually kind of surprised that Montreal had a high number as high as 7, 10-7 in favor of the Lightning. I didn't feel like we were in danger at any point in this game. And feeling pretty confident, especially getting that second goal. Feeling great heading into the third, even though it was 2-1. And then, of course, the triple insurance goal output to get us to 5-1. Expected goals, kind of how we discuss, mixing all those Lightning stats. Expected goals of about 2.75 to 1.77 for the Canadians, and vice versa. So 5-1, of course, on the goals for and against. Game flow, which again, just really interesting that showing a slight edge to Montreal in the first period, and then ironically their power play resulted in momentum shifting to the Lightning. So kind of weird. Maybe I was so relaxed at the end of the game that I wasn't noticing that the Canadians had pressure on us. I mean, I guess a little bit. And of course, that changing with the 5-on-3 towards the end of the game. And of course, heat map. Here's the Lightning really penetrating today. Goals right up the alley here, right up the middle. Kind of a weird shot here from the boards. A sole goal for the Canadians coming in the slot. Pretty decent. I guess that was a shot that pinballed off everybody. But again, Lightning really doing a great job at pushing most of the activity out. And they were able to get in here. And I think this is how they were able to be successful against the Golden Knights, among other teams. The teams they've chipped off, is they were limiting, and the Golden Knights had difficulty getting into the middle here. So this is really the key, is getting front Carey Price in high danger areas and getting those pucks past them. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how they react. Of course, game 2, fully expect Montreal to make some adjustments, and let's see how this goes. Today, Monday, so Wednesday night, game 2 in Tampa. All right. Wonderful. So excited for game number 2 coming up. I still think it's Bolts in 5. Montreal getting one of them. Be nice. I'll be there, hopefully in the middle of it, for game 5. That's it for game number 1, the breakdown, the post-game show. Make sure to leave some love in the comments if you're following on Facebook or Twitch or YouTube especially. Give us a thumbs up, a like, and a subscription. That'd be awesome. We'll see you next time for Wednesday for game number 2. Probably throw some info out if you're following us at the Sports Moves on Facebook. Might try to do another third period game watch. Love those. Those are pretty fun. Watching the game live. I guess live in quotes. I'm usually a couple seconds behind. So that is that. We'll see you next time here on the Thunderdome Puckcast post-game show. Take care. Go Bolts.